Welcome to Writer Talks. I'm Elizabeth Ann Atkins, and I interview the wonderful writers who are the winners of our short story contests and who get published in our international anthologies. Well, today you get to meet Husein Taherbhai. He's an amazing writer. His story, A Matter of the Heart, won one of our 2020 short story contests, and he will be published in our fourth annual anthology. And he and I have been having a great time talking about writing, and we hadn't even started the show. So welcome, Husein.
Thank you. Thank
You're
you.
so I'm so excited to talk with you because you are a psychometrician, retired, focusing on your writing and your painting now. So you have both left brain and right brain creative powers, and that's very unique. So I'm really excited that you're here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So, do you want to start talking about your very interesting life? You've gone all around the world and you've done some fascinating things. Can you give us a synopsis of who you are?
Well, I was born in Bahrain. My parents had business in Bahrain for a long time. Our post office box number was number 9. So you can imagine how far back we go. So anyway, I went to high school in India. And then after my first year in college, which is quite a different thing over there, I went to what do you call? I came to America for my bachelor's, my master's, and my doctorate.
Mm-hmm.
I did all that in America, and so it was kind of I got a very, like I was telling you earlier, that I got a very checkered life.
Uh-huh.
And I've done all kinds of things, very different kind of things, and it has been good for me. And I kind of maybe learned a lot, although I wouldn't want to do that again. I would just like to write and paint. That's what I love to do since I'm retired. So,
Uh-huh.
and occasionally maybe delve into psychometrics. But otherwise, I'm quite happy the way I am. And perhaps one of the happiest times of my life.
Oh, that's wonderful, since you retired 4 or 5 years ago and now you get to write.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. But before we go further, we've said the word psychometrician. So what is that, please?
A psychometrician is basically an instrument that is what you call applied statistics that we use for assessing students, measuring instruments, how well they perform, like in psychology, psychological instruments. We do aptitude testing and how they function. And like gender equality. Are the questions being asked in a gender equality? Like at one time, people did not know what the women, for example, had no idea of football at one time, long time back. So when you ask them a question of about football, you're leaving the women at a disadvantage. And we had this problem not only with women in gender, but we also had a problem in, say, for example, in a beach ball in a place where many of the people in Canada, which was one of my account, had never known what a beach ball was. They thought of it as a ball. So when you put a beach ball, you kind of confuse them. And they didn't know how to come back to it. Or same thing with hamburger. When I first came to India, from India, hamburger meant ham. And the Muslim students who do not, and the Jewish students who do not eat pork, how do you ask them a hamburger and ask them which one is the better buy? They'll always say the chicken or the beef or anything else, but not hamburgers.
Wow. So it's really about words too. That's fascinating.
It's words, and how do we measure that words? What does it do to them? So that is where we psychometricians come in. Is it really affecting or not? Certain things do affect.
Fascinating. And as a writer, words have so much meaning. And if it's not clear, when you confuse, you lose. So,
right.
Wow. Okay, now let's jump to your writing. You are an amazing writer. A Matter of the Heart is a phenomenal story. Can you talk about that story a little bit, please?
Yeah, it's a story about when I was one of my very close friends are Greek, And so when I go to, and I still, even like I got very good friends of mine who are French. So when I go to France or Greece or anything like that, I look at it from the local point of view. I don't go as a tourist. Because there you take the Eiffel Tower and you take a picture of this and that. So when I went to Greece, I went with my friends, and then some of the things that I describe in the story about how like the little church, the stone church, and we were watching people dancing over there, and how we went to this little restaurant that reminded me so much of, a house, somebody's house, and it was like crowded and things like that. So it was very much what you call up. And I could see in talking to her friends, my friends who are Greek, and their friends, talking to them and all. And we got an idea about, what actually a Greek person feels like that. And what does it think? And what does she think? And what happens in that world? And that is the emotional part. That is the emotional part, the part of what you call how a human being interacts with one another.
I love that so much. I think that all the time. Like, what are they thinking? What are they feeling? Where are they going? Why? Wow, that's so cool.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's how this story came into being. And I was just what I call, as you progress occurred in the story, you kind of see, the hardest thing, if you are not actually talking about your own personal life, the hardest thing is to write where you're just becoming an observer, or when you do not even have the observation. But suppose I'm writing about something in China where I've never been, for example, then I would have to do a lot of research to incorporate, so that my tourism, there's a truism in fiction. So we need the truism in fiction, unless you're writing what you call a story about science fiction or something like a fairy tale. That's a different story.
Mm-hmm.
So we need that, and that is what you call. I looked at this Karpathos, where I was there, and how they were behaving, what they were doing, and it kind of gives me that feeling about, like, for example, one thing I noticed was nobody really cared about how they were dressed on a beach. While here, we spend so much money. People spend so much money in buying just the right bikini or the right the swimming suit, where men and wear and all that. And so then it was not a matter of this thing. And I also noticed some other things, like people for financial things were not that important. Like a cab driver, I mean, of course, it's important to a certain degree, but a cab driver too was taking us around, and I had for example, I don't remember now, but I had 10 euros and he wanted 1 extra euro for the total price. And I didn't have a change. And I said, okay, I got 10 euros. And he said, no, you keep it. It's okay. Now, how many people would do that?
Not a lot.
Yeah. So that was some amazing things that I noticed, and those are some things that maybe in the future, when I write another story, would come out into it. And so a lot of my Indian stories, too, my stories about India, are very much like that in a way, about arranged marriages, for example, and how does it still affect, because there's still arranged marriages in India.
Mm-hmm.
And they still look at a horoscope and say, okay, fine, are you matching or not? Things like that. So it is kind of very interesting to do that kind of things. So Ariana and this story that I've written is pretty much, it turned out to be, I was thinking about some other thing, but it turned out to be a nice romantic story,
Right.
story of romance, a holiday romance.
I love it. I love it so much. That's awesome. Awesome. So what are you working on now?
Well, I'm just about to finish a story called Over the Border, and it's a short story again for my total stories that I'm going to write. And over the border. I can't say that. Over the border. Okay, Over the Border is a story about this immigration couple with an illegal immigrant who comes to America, and then how poverty affects them, and how the interrelationship between the husband and the wife changes over a period of time, and what happens to them, and where they come from, and what they're doing, and all that. So I'm writing that at the present time. Then I got a few other stories that I'm kind of playing at the same time with, like an interracial couple marrying. I mean dating.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm writing that too, and so like if I stop finding words for something, I just give it up and then start working on my painting, or I try to write another story and get into that. So that way, I don't have to, because otherwise my wife will make me work something else.
Awesome. Okay, so across everything that you do, your writing, your painting, and your charity, your philanthropy, you have a strong theme of diversity. Can you talk about that, please, and what you do?
Yeah, I wish I could send you. I'm going to, because I know that you deal with diversity too. So I'm going to send you one of my paintings. You can use it, but you can use the painting itself, and I'll keep that painting, but you can use it if you want to, take it if you feel like it. So I've got two paintings done for that, and I'm calling them Reflections on Diversity. And there I talk a lot about Indian arranged marriages. I talk about what do you call the traffic problem in Mumbai, and what happens to this poor woman. And I got stories about this over the border, then that one that I've sent you. So all these are going to be in a book format, short stories and all that. And but the thing that I've done recently that I really, this is the first time I've done something like this, is a prose poem. And the prose poem came about is because a friend of mine was a photographer, and he took some infrared pictures of trees, and he wanted me or various people, not only me, but other people, to feed in and write small little verses of that for the trees. So what I did is I wrote this whole 600 and some words of poem, and then and then I took that poem and I would send them a little, little verses from there. But when the time permits, or when you want me to, I'll go ahead and read a little bit about from there.
Please do. Now is great.
Okay, so I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's too long. So I will just read some of the things from in between here.
Yes.
Okay, the story, the poem is about what trees tell me. Okay.
Ooh, I like it.
What stories would they tell me? Voicing with the wind, conversing with their own kind, the ones casting witch-like darkness on haunted houses, creating a smorgasbord of ghostly delights, then taking a turn, beautifying royal palaces, sheltering from the sun tiny houses in the coppices, forefront in forming parks into tree-shaded parks, highlighting boulevards, standing straight like tin soldiers, not a step out of place, raising the prices of homes. That's one of them. Then I'll read another one. The journey on floating waters, bidding adieu. The trees no more recognized in debt, slaving to transfer fresh-cut wood on barges of fresh-cut lumber. The dogs no longer returning to splatter the sides, while they succumb to the chainsaw, keeping silent, accepting without complaint, letting the hand of humankind destroy that God-given destiny. And,
wow.
And this is the final one, the final.
Okay.
But come eating time, they get hungry, asking for no charity, just kind consideration of letting them squeeze the clouds for rains and turn their leaves with white exposed branches to receive the sun. In the bargain, photosynthesizing, helping us live, never asking for gratitude, while they go around their business, forever giving, rewarding us with wonderful psychedelic patterns of light and shade and stunning cherry blossoms on the streets where we live.
Wow, I love it. Those are
Thank you. Thank you.
awesome. I love the imagery. It's
Thank
so
you.
broad and beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome. You're welcome.
you.
I just want to say that your painting behind you is one that you did yourself, and it's beautiful. I can't see the other one very clearly, but it does have diversity. It has colors. It's just gorgeous.
This one,
Yes, it's so
that's
cool.
my, yeah, that's called, this one is called, what do you call, for Fatima's Cafe. That is my wife's cafe. And
Oh,
and it says on
nice.
the top, because it's in the dining room, and it
Uh-huh.
says today's special food orgy and sparkling company.
That's awesome. I love it. I love it. So, can you talk about how you give donations when you sell your paintings to the LGBTQ community and as well as the Native American community?
Yeah, and not so much the Native American, the Indian Americans from
Indian.
India, from
Oh, I'm
India.
sorry. Indian.
Yeah,
Okay.
the
Yes.
Indian Americans and the LGBT community around here. See,
Okay.
they try to raise money every
Uh-huh.
year, of course, and uh, a lot of artists kind of give their paintings for that, and they sell the paintings in an auction. So I've always given to them, and for the last 2 3 years, at 4 years, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And fortunately for me, it is sold. For some are not auctioned and some are not sold. So, but fortunately in my case, it is sold so far. So I just go on giving and all. And I got a very good friend of mine who's an artist too, and she also gives into it, and she's much more famous as an artist than I am. So she does all that, and so I always play the secondary role and say, hey, listen, being an artist is not my first choice. I'm a writer.
I love it. Oh, that's so fun. That's awesome. Excellent. That's so cool that you have such a mission behind you and generosity behind what you do. So, what's your big dream as a writer?
Well, all writers like to be recognized, definitely. That's number one. And so, if I publish enough of them, I was writing something of nonfiction about the holes in the American political system, but the way everything is going on right now, I said, forget it. I mean, you never know. 1 minute you write something, and the next thing something else happens, and you're completely sure. So I just kind of that's it.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
writing, but it's my heart is not as much as it was at one time
Mm,
when I was like going to write about. But so I'm kind of. But anyway, it's working.
mm,
Hello. Oh,
mhm. So, you like to write fiction and nonfiction. So, which do you like
fiction.
better?
I like fiction. Definitely fiction.
Because you
Yeah,
can
I
make
can play
stuff up.
around. I can really play around. I don't have to look at my references and all that. You see,
Right.
I did enough of that when I wrote in my psychometrics, my technical papers, and all that. I have to be very careful about what I wrote and how I wrote, and I cannot end a sentence with a preposition and all that thing all the junky things that we talk about. If you don't care when you write fiction.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I
And
love it. I love it. Okay, so what's your process now that you're retired? Do you work all day on your writing, or do you have like maybe
I
you
get
write
up
in the
in the
morning?
morning. I get up in the morning. I play with my dog, and then I go upstairs and go ahead and start do my exercises and all that, and then go straight up and start writing. And then in the middle, somebody will break my concentration or something like that, which most non-writers, for example, my wife, does not understand.
Oh,
No,
that's
no. I
funny.
mean, what I mean is, then I come down and I kind of, I write till about, uh, um, for about 4 hours a day or something. But sometimes it doesn't come, so I'm not really writing. So I paint, and then sometimes I skip from one to another and write something else,
Wow.
and then that's how I pass my time, and I enjoy it. And then, of course, you always go the weekends coming in, which I thought I wouldn't have to do anything, but now I have to go to people's houses and attend parties and things like that, which I don't really like to do, but I do it because I want to. I don't know why I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
Do you mean since things opened up after the pandemic?
Yeah, after the pandemic, I got a lot of friends in this town. I love them. And that's one of the reasons I never went in a warmer climate, because I think it's just that I got so many friends, and I enjoy them, and I kind of, so I, immediately after the pandemic, come on, let's go do things, do that, here and there, but we wear masks and still do it. So we'll do it. So,
that's good. And you're in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, right?
yes.
Okay. I just had a great talk with writers, and they all talked about being introverts and how they loved, myself included, being at home during the pandemic and having all that solitude for writing. It was awesome.
I do too. I loved it. Nobody believes me, but I said, hey, listen, I loved it. I can stay there forever.
Right. So now there's this pressure to go out and interact, and it's lovely.
Absolutely.
It's great to be with people, but the time, you really look at the time and how much time you had during the pandemic to write with total focus, because there was nothing else.
Oh man, I really, really loved that part.
Yeah.
But always something came up in the house that I had to repair, and I'm terrible with that. I don't even know what a screwdriver looks like, and so. But I just went around and found and read and went to YouTube and then started repairing things and doing things which I don't really like.
Yeah, right. That's just reality, because we didn't want to call people into the house during the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a whole nother layer of stuff. But okay, what are your tips for other writers out there who are aspiring, especially if they're still working?
Okay, for one thing, don't feel a rejection as something that you've got to dwell on too much. Learn from that. Why would that person not what you call use your piece in their publication? What really happens here? And the other thing is, a lot of people tend to jump the gun, and after they're 100% sure that this is the way I want my writing to go, and they say, fine, send it out. You come back after 2 weeks or a month to the same piece, and I challenge you, you will find a hell of a lot of things that you can change.
I know.
And you are 100% sure that it was going to be the right thing.
I know, right?
It was the only thing you can do. So yeah, and there are other things. I think people tend to sometimes use a lot of. This is my personal opinion. A lot of what you call. I like metaphors and analogies and all that, but sometimes you left them hanging without any, just as it stands. There is what you call no connectivity, and it sounds good and a little bit of connection. Like I think I wrote something down here to read that. Okay, so for example, when he still doesn't respond, Daniela is the girl in this story that I'm just finishing. Mm-hmm. Daniela's patience breaks like a dam, capitulating to the onslaught of flood waters. Now, that sounds okay. I mean, she was her patient, she's losing it. And then her husband gets up in a hurry and comes to her, But in between, why did she do that? I mean, why? What happens with her patience? Her patience is dwindling or whatever it is. How does she show that? What happens before? So she screams, "Damn you!" And then that brings us back into the concept, because she's mad at her husband right now. So by saying "damn you," she screams, and that kind of says, okay, so now she's angry. But why is she angry again? So because she's lost control. She needs some control in her life, and she's losing control, and she hates that. And so then when he comes in a hurry and comes to her and all that, we see the whole new thing building up, and we see why she was even angry in the first place. And it's all connected. But people tend to leave things hanging sometimes and write what you call beautiful metaphors and similes and analogies and all that. And it doesn't really resonate very well if you don't really connect them, the connection part of it. And so I kind of, try to look at it. I make a lot of mistakes anyway. And I just go around finding out and then rewriting. And then I send it to an editor and he'll say, oh, listen, you need to look at this again. So that's always the case. But you'll edit work from authors? Do you edit and all that?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. When we publish books, we edit, but I also provide an editing service for people who just want that. So absolutely, yes. But
that's what I would like to do. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. I'd love to talk about that. It's so important what you said about if you leave something for 2 weeks and come back to it, you notice all kinds of things, because when you're in the forest, you can't see the trees. You can't see, oh, this could be better or this, and so you have to let it sit and come back with fresh eyes. That's really important.
And sometimes a third eyes will also help a lot.
Right. That is true. With every book we publish, we have a proofreader because we can read it 50 times and miss something. And then the third set of eyes catch things we missed. It's bizarre how that happens, isn't it?
Right.
Yes. Excellent. So are you writing a novel, a memoir, any big things like that?
No, I'm writing a novel, which will be that short stories that I'm going to put it in at once upon a time. Just one sec. I've written Moments in Life. This is a short stories.
Oh, nice. I like it.
This was Moments in Life that I've written short stories about. I had a story called Joshua's Touch, which was a little bit off it's not my usual thing, but he was what you call, when he touched something after doing something good, something bad would happen to that person.
Oh.
It was kind of a weird kind of a thing, and if he did something bad and then touched somebody, something good would happen to him. So it was kind of a story made up on a lot of interaction and all that. But I write otherwise. I write emotional things, people, interactions and things like that. And I got two stories that I'm right now trying to finish. One of them is, like I told you, the interracial couple, and the other one is this immigration thing that I'm talking.
I love the topics that you write about. It's just awesome. This is so cool. You're welcome. Where can people find you and your work? I mean, your short story, A Matter of the Heart, for Two Sisters Writing and Publishing, will be published in our fourth annual anthology for 2020. That should be coming out later this year.
I'm sorry, I didn't. Okay, you're freezing up.
Find your work.
Can you? Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, you froze up.
Oh, sure. Where can people get in touch with you?
Oh, best thing is my email.
Oh, your email? Okay.
I'm still old-fashioned that way. And I like what you call texting too, but generally speaking, I lose my phone so many times. I don't know. Sometimes I leave it in the car and I don't know where it is. So I kind of I prefer emails. If not emails, then texting. I can always call me on my phone.
Okay. I'll put your email address in the links in the description box. So if anybody wants to get in touch with you and learn more about your paintings and your writing, they can get in touch with you. Is that good?
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Husein, it's such a delight to talk with you. I just love the versatility of your creativity, your generosity, your embracing and celebrating diversity, your global perspective. You're just an amazing person. So I'm grateful that you're part of the Two Sisters Writing and Publishing community.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And you got some things coming up that I'm going to send you guys anyway.
Oh, okay.
For editing as well as, for this thing afterwards. I'd like you to edit some of my work.
Oh, okay. Sounds great. Excellent.
We'll talk about that when I send you an email or something later.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Excellent, Husein. Thank you for joining me here on Writer Talks. I wish you the
I'm
best.
really very much honored being
Thank
interviewed. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. My honor.
Thank you.
And thank you, all of you, for joining me here on Writer Talks, where you got to meet Husein Taherbhai with his wonderful perspective on writing and the world and diversity and painting and writing and just all these wonderful things. I hope you had as much fun as I had tonight on the show. Please give us a thumbs up saying you liked the video. Please also subscribe to the channel, and you can follow me on Twitter at Two Sisters Writing. That's the number 2 Sisters Writing, and at Elizabeth Atkins. So I really hope you can check out twosisterswriting.com and submit your short story to our monthly contest. And this year is all about diversity. We want your voice to be heard. So check out all the awesome categories that we're offering this year, and the winners get to be published in our 5th annual Anthology of International Writers. So please do submit your short stories. We love to read them and celebrate you, like Husein, as a writer, as a winner. So remember, happy writing and happy reading. We'll see
Thank
you
you,
next
Elizabeth.
time. You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.